The narrow, muddy lanes of Rahim Yar Khan, where the dust never settled and hope felt like a luxury only rich people could afford, lived a 17-year-old girl named Aisha. Everyone knew her as the girl who never complained. Her mother had been bedridden for 3 years with a heart condition that doctors said could only be fixed in Lahore, but Lahore might as well have been the moon. Her father had died in a factory accident when she was 12, leaving behind nothing but debts and a small tin box that now held exactly 2 10 rupee coins. That morning, Aisha had walked 4 kilometers to the pharmacy, tears stinging her eyes, begging the chemist for just 1 more week of her mother's medicine on credit. The chemist, a kind man with tired eyes, shook his head. "Beta, I've already given you 3 months free. I have my own family." She understood. She always understood. So she turned around, clutching those 2 coins her neighbor auntie had pressed into her palm the night before. "Buy yourself some roti, child. Don't starve." The coins burned in her pocket like tiny pieces of guilt. Her stomach had been empty for 2 days. Her little brother Bilal, only 8, had cried himself to sleep asking why there was no milk. Yet every time Aisha closed her eyes, she saw her mother's thin face smiling weakly from the charpoy, whispering, "Allah will send help, Mary John. He always does." The rain started just as she reached the old iron bridge near the railway station. Cold, relentless drops soaked through her dupatta. Under the bridge, huddled against the wind, sat an old man. His clothes were torn, his beard matted with dirt, and his eyes, those eyes looked like they had seen every sorrow the world could offer. A small tin can lay in front of him, empty except for a few wet leaves. People hurried past, eyes averted, umbrellas shielding them from both rain and guilt. Aisha slowed down. Something in the old man's posture reminded her of her father the night before he died, shoulders bent, dignity barely holding on. She stopped. Her fingers tightened around the 2 coins. The old man looked up. His voice was hoarse, cracked by years of shouting into the void. "Beti, even 1 rupee, for a cup of tea to warm these old bones." Aisha's heart squeezed so hard she could barely breathe. She thought of her mother's medicine running out tomorrow. She thought of Bilal's hollow cheeks. She thought of herself going to sleep hungry again. Then she looked at the old man's trembling hands, and something inside her broke open. Without a word, she knelt in the mud, rain mixing with the tears now streaming down her face. She opened her fist and dropped both coins into his tin. The metallic clink sounded louder than thunder. The old man stared at the coins, as if he had never seen money before. His eyes widened, then filled with something Aisha could not name. Shock, disbelief, and a flicker of something deeper. "Beta, this is all you have, isn't it?" he whispered. Aisha nodded, smiling through her tears. "My mother always says, when you have nothing left to give, that is when you must give everything. Maybe Allah will see this and heal her." She stood up, her dupatta clinging to her like a second skin. "Take care of yourself, Baba." She turned and walked away, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Behind her, the old man watched her disappear into the rain, the 2 coins still gleaming in his palm. He did not move for a long time. That night, Aisha sat beside her mother's charpoy, holding her hand. "I gave away the last money, Ammi," she confessed, voice breaking. "I'm sorry. Tomorrow we will have nothing." Her mother stroked her hair with weak fingers. "Then tomorrow we will have everything that matters, because my daughter still has the biggest heart in Punjab." Aisha cried herself to sleep on the cold floor, dreaming of empty stomachs and endless rain. She had no idea that across town, in a mansion she could never imagine, the old beggar was no longer wearing rags. The man behind the mask. The next morning, the sun rose pale and hesitant, as if even it was afraid to face the day. Aisha woke to the sound of knocking, loud, urgent, official. Her heart sank. Creditors again? She opened the door to find not debt collectors, but a tall man in a crisp black suit, holding an envelope. Behind him stood 2 cars that looked more expensive than everything in her entire mahalla combined. "Aisha Bibi?" the man asked politely. "Mr. Malik wants to see you." "Malik?" She blinked. "Who is Mr. Malik?" The man simply smiled. "You will know soon." They drove her through streets she had only seen in dreams. Wide roads, tall gates, gardens so green they hurt her eyes. The car stopped in front of a mansion that looked like a palace from a Bollywood movie. Servants bowed as she entered. Aisha's bare feet felt wrong on the marble floors. She clutched her torn dupatta, suddenly ashamed of her appearance. In the grand living room, sitting on a velvet sofa, was the old beggar from under the bridge, clean-shaven, wearing a white shalwar kameez that probably cost more than her mother's lifetime medicines. His eyes were the same though. Kind. Knowing. Aisha's knees nearly buckled. You are the beggar?" He stood up slowly, smiling with genuine warmth. "Yes, Beta. My name is Anwar Malik. I am what people call a millionaire, actually several times over. But for the last 10 years, I have been doing something different. I dress as a beggar in different cities and test humanity. I give away locks to those who show real kindness when they themselves have nothing. Most people walk past. Some drop 1 coin if they feel guilty. But you," his voice cracked, "you gave me your last 2 coins. You smiled while doing it. You told me about your mother's faith in Allah even while your own world was collapsing." Aisha could not speak. Tears poured down her face unchecked. Mr. Malik continued, voice thick with emotion. "Last night, after you left, I cried for the first time in 20 years. I called my team immediately. We checked everything. Your mother's medical records, your brother's school, your father's old factory debts. Everything is being taken care of right now." He handed her the envelope. Inside were documents, full payment for her mother's surgery in Lahore's best hospital, a new house in a clean neighborhood, school fees for Bilal paid until university, and a bank account with enough money that Aisha would never have to count coins again. "But why?" she whispered. "Because I was once that beggar," Mr. Malik said quietly. 40 years ago, I was an orphan sleeping under the same bridge. One old woman gave me her last roti and said, 'Never forget kindness, child.' I never did. I built my empire, but I always wondered, does that kind of heart still exist in this world? You proved it does. You restored my faith in humanity." He took her hands in his. "From today, you are not just Aisha. You are my daughter. Your mother will get the best treatment. Your brother will study in the best school. And you will go to college and become whatever your heart dreams. But more importantly, you have reminded an old man that kindness is the only currency that never loses value." 3 months later, Aisha stood outside the hospital in Lahore, holding her mother's hand as she walked for the first time in years. Bilal ran ahead laughing, wearing new shoes. Behind him, Mr. Malik watched with tears in his eyes, the same eyes that once begged under a bridge. Aisha turned to the camera she had asked her new father to set up. One final message for the world. "If you are watching this," she said, voice steady and full of light, "and you feel you have nothing left to give, remember my 2 coins. They were small, but they moved mountains. Kindness does not need money. It needs a heart that refuses to turn cold even when the world freezes. Give whatever you can, whenever you can, to whoever needs it. Because you never know, you might be helping a millionaire, or you might be helping an angel in disguise. But most of all, you will be helping yourself. Because the day you give your last coin is the day you become the richest person alive." She smiled straight into the lens, the same smile she had given under the bridge in the rain. "And if you ever feel like giving up, remember Aisha from Rahim Yar Khan. She gave everything and received the whole world in return." The screen fades on her radiant face, but the message stays with you long after the video ends. Be the girl who gave her last coins. The world still needs her. And maybe, just maybe, the next beggar you meet is waiting to change your life too. Stay kind. Always.